This is Jason. I've run by this question, what do you think happens after this life, and found out that he's got a non-denominational church background and maybe a little turned off by the church politics.
I would agree.
Doing some searching and not quite sure where he's at right now. So yeah, now I'll start off with that question. What do you think happens after this life? And you were about to say something else though. So.
Well, I'll start with that question.
Sure.
That's the main question. I used to be so sure. I used to be so sure that I was going to heaven. It was something that I felt at 6. Maybe because of the circumstances that I was in at the time. But it was never questioned. I think the last time, or the first time it was questioned, when I was hanging out with some Jehovah's Witnesses, and it was communion time. It was around Christmas, and
How old were you then?
I was in my teens, maybe 16,
Okay.
16, 17, and it was a friend of mine, and she had asked me. She said, "Jason, why do you hold your head up so high? How do you have such esteem?" And I didn't think she was watching me. I thought it was a very bizarre question, but it was a perfect question for me to say, well, of course, my faith in Jesus is what has kept me through so much, but privately. And she said, well, if you go to my Kingdom Hall, I'll go to your church.
Okay.
And I said, deal. You know, at that point, I had took a comparative religion class in high school, and of course, was raised in church, so I didn't think anything of it. I think it would alter how I thought about it.
Was it a Christian high school or public?
I went to Catholic high school.
Okay.
But the traditional, black guy with Southern adults around them, going to Sunday school, going to vacation Bible school, the whole traditional way of being brought up. And then also, I was a Boy Scout, so like all the organizations I was a part of kind of reinforced what the traditional teachings were. And I just so happened to have, a really, really good church that they wasn't, contemporary with being fun and having, flat screens on the wall. But when it came to really teaching and when it came to really finding men that actually lived that life, I had wonderful examples. So I would say not having a father figure did not stop me, because I was wrapped around men who made major sacrifices to, be a Christian and to love their family.
Yeah.
So I went to the Kingdom Hall, and there was a time where it was time to take communion. And at the time, no one would take it. And in my church, it was do it as often as you do it. Do it in remembrance of me. So we did it every Sunday. And so I grabbed the communion at 16, I think, and I said, oh, cool, it's communion. And
Now, excuse me, is this something that they do every week, do you know? Or?
I don't think so, no. They only do it at Passover, I believe.
Oh, okay.
And you're only supposed to take it if you're one of the 144,000.
Oh.
And if you don't, you're supposed to be cursed.
Ooh.
So when I took it, everyone gasped,
Okay.
And then they said, well, you're not supposed to take it unless you're the chosen one. And I said, well, then of course. Then give me yours, give me yours, give me yours. I ended up taking like 3 or 4 of them. Yeah, that didn't go too well.
No, that's not. Wow.
But that was the first
you
time.
probably didn't really know all that, what it was meant for.
Well,
or
no.
did they explain it to you?
They didn't explain it to me as I was taking it, but I had been indoctrinated that do this in remembrance of me. I mean, in my church, communion was the most solemn, joyous, sacred time. Even though, the preaching is great and the singing is wonderful, we were engraved that this is very serious.
Yeah.
I mean, as toddlers. So, to me, in our church, toddlers take it. Everyone takes it. And the Pope or the pastor, the rabbi is not giving it to you. You take it yourself. So it's a very sacred thing. And so that was the first time I think that I had to actually question: am I one of the chosen? I probably was cemented. Me thinking that I knew I was going to heaven was at I was 12, and I had decided to be an organ donor because I think the question came up at that point. And I said, of course. My reasoning was if Jesus gave his life for me, then the least I can do is save someone else.
Yeah.
But in the black community, there's a folklore that you do not give up your organs. Once you become an organ donor, they don't give you the same care because your organs are very valuable. So no one does it. So once I was older and realized that no one does it, I decided no. At the age that I did it at 12, I was innocent, and so I said, well, I'm going to keep that because I know the meaning behind why I became an organ donor.
Now, when you say an organ donor, you mean you signed up for it in case,
Yes.
right? Yeah. So, okay, I see.
Yeah.
So it's not like you knew someone who needed a kidney and you were about to give it to them.
No.
Oh, okay.
You
signed up for the list.
For the list.
Yeah.
And that has a lot to do with the selflessness in which I was raised. It was never about, you sign up so that you can save someone so that you can get on TV and say, oh my God, this is what I did for someone else.
Right, yeah.
That just is not, it's not in my makeup. So I kept it. I'm still an organ donor to this day because of that. So up until that point, I was very, secure in that I was going to heaven. And after I became an organ donor, I said, well, this is it. This is my spot.
Oh, okay.
Years went past. In my adult life, went to church myself and went to several churches a Sunday and was very active. And then there was a point in time where, in my opinion, I graduated. I feel that in every learning institution, there's a level of graduation. And where I was, and I was at several places, I felt that I had graduated past the sermons that I was hearing, and I felt resentful towards the people. And
was this kind of just a growing feeling, or it happened all of a sudden?
No, it's growing. I was consistently in church. And all the guilt that goes with not going to church, and then it's different from when you have parents and they give you that guilt. Then when you're an adult and you're amongst that society that gives you that guilt, now you're making adult decisions to go or to not to go. So I was all into that, and years had passed, and I had actually started my business, and on Sundays was a lot of times that I would take my clients in, and so each Sunday kind of got away from me.
Okay. Yeah.
And the folklore of that, if you stop going, that God is going to love you less, or that you're going to have less of a relationship with Him. I had to test that,
Okay.
And I would, go on my computer and type in TD Jakes and listen to a sermon every now and then, or stay abreast to the latest gospel song that I love, just to have some sense of spirituality. Of course, I would still be very active in my community. I would give to the homeless, or anyone that desperately needed it. Primarily very active in my community, giving back to my community was very important. And so I didn't feel like there was a separation between me and God. Now, I don't suggest that everyone does that.
Yeah. And this probably went on for a few years?
Years, yeah.
Maybe early 20s? In your early 20s?
Early 20s, from 21 to now current. A good 7 years have passed. Yeah. Every now and then I would step into I'll step into a church, and I would joke that, I'm going to catch on flame, so you all need to have a fire extinguisher, because I know, and, I would sing at any of my family members' funerals. In fact, interesting enough, I was at a house party 2 days ago, and I was asked to sing, and at 3 in the morning we decided, for some reason, to go to church.
Oh, yeah.
And we turned the basement into church. It's like a revival. We sung for 2 hours straight, old gospel songs. So,
where were you at?
I was at a house party. I was like a Blue Island from my house. I had a birthday. And so we had church. And so, my former church is what we're doing now. Not necessarily, going to a particular brick and mortar. Yeah. But I suggest that people go. Yeah. I just felt that since I was away from the environment, away from the culture, I could assess it better. I think once you're in it, it was almost a cult feeling, and I didn't want to be a part of that, and I didn't want to have any resentment towards people who were a part of that. So I kind of separated myself.
Yeah.
From.
Yeah. So, and then you mentioned that you had some a friend who was Buddhist, or a conversation, or
yes. How I ended up playing with the Buddhist. I had been dealing with a severe, chronicle, debilitating illness, and I never told my family. It started at 21. I guess right around the time when I stopped going to church. When it first happened, I was in church constantly. The illness is very severe, and most people take a lot of medication. And I opted not to because I was exercising my faith. One of the symptoms is so frightening that 99% of most people run to the hospital immediately. When I first started having the symptoms, I had just opened my storefront, and I told the doctor, no, I do not have time for this. Exercise my faith, and I'll go to work, and I'm sure God will take care of it. So, years passed. It was worse then. And 7 years had passed, and I was at a party, and I met a young man, and we had got very close very quickly after the party for some odd reason, and he had explained to me that he had contracted herpes. And he was so open about it. And I had never experienced that in the Christian church. And he had, explained how he contracted it, why he contracted it, and what he's trying to do to, prevent it and change his lifestyle. And he said he was a Buddhist.
Oh, okay.
And I said, well, if you could be that free, I want that. Which I have not found in my church or the church environment.
Just the ability to be open about maybe something that's looked down upon or something, or just
well, kind of, not really. It's the condition is rare. It's not a sexually transmitted disease, and it is very embarrassing what I go through on a daily basis. Especially, I'm a fashion designer. So being someone that is in fashion, I do cosmetics and makeup as well. It's really not attractive, and it has changed my life. I haven't dated in 10 years because of it. It is that debilitating, and to be able to express to someone I had just met.
Yeah.
And he was telling me about an illness that technically has a stigma. Mine is just rare, and no one speaks about it.
Okay.
I thought it was a little more freedom, so that's why I ended up hanging out with him and learning what is this life, what is this Buddhism that's giving you such peace. Yeah. And he had told me that he had read a chapter in James, and James led him to Buddhism.
So he was not originally Buddhist, growing up Buddhist. Okay.
He was a devout Catholic, but his family had serious issues of incest and murder and schizophrenia. All his uncles, father murdered his uncle because he was schizophrenic, and father was molested by clergymen, and incest running through the family. So he had a lot of issues in his family. And he said he never quite connected with the Bible stories, but he said James led him to Buddhism. And
it's interesting, James.
Very interesting. and I would tell him that. And so then when I got around the Buddhists, I had been with the Jehovah's Witnesses.
Did you? So you kept going to their?
Just a few times. They're crazy. I'm just gonna say it out there. Their doctrine is I can be very tolerant because I don't disrespect people's faith. The Jehovah's Witnesses are crazy. It is what it is. It's not. It's the same thing that I feel about Catholicism. with the rituals.
Yeah.
It's like
Some of the extra biblical traditions and things.
it's a little much, and it's a little much for people who practice them, but yet they still do. So that's more tradition in the way things were.
Yeah.
Outside of exercising your faith.
Yeah.
So, dealing with the illness that I was dealing with and not going to the hospital. I didn't go to the hospital for 7 years and didn't get diagnosed. I just knew the Lord was going to heal me. I always had this connection with the story of the one with the issue of blood. And I was dealing with the issue of blood. And I knew that when it was happening to me, the Spirit had revealed to me that I was dealing with it for at least 7 years before it got better. So, and I did.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. It wasn't until recently. The last 2.5 years, 3 years, it went in a slight remission. But in that 7-year mark, I did the research on what I could do, to heal myself. But in that time period of dealing with my business, handling my illness, I had many conversations with God, real conversations with God.
Yeah.
That I didn't discuss with anyone else, and didn't think I needed to. It's very personal.
Yeah.
And in that time frame, I was open to finding ways to meditate.
Did you attend a Buddhist temple or anything?
I did. I chanted for a little bit. In the traditional teaching, it does not negate any other religion. So you can believe in God and be a Buddhist. Buddhist is supposed to be a practice, not a religion.
Okay.
But when you get into the organization, the people have created a religion nonetheless, and folklore and superstition, and I just, did not agree with it.
I think like any religion, over the generations, it starts to get baggage, I guess you'd say.
It gets muddled. One of the things we had to do is have a gohonzon, which is basically an altar, and there was a script of Chinese inscriptions on the gohonzon that they said represented a mirror. But the words were in Sanskrit, and no one knew what they meant.
Oh, okay.
And you're to chant to that particular page as a point of contact, as a mirror for your life. So I said, oh, fine. I said, since I have faith, I'll just put a mirror, in the gohonzon, take that paper out that I don't know what it means, and I'll look at myself, and every morning I'll, chant to what I need in my life. And I thought it was a great practice. That's one thing I appreciate about it. I like that. I think Christianity misses out the way Muslims do and Buddhists do on a consistent way of meditation. We wait till Sunday, kind of do a little something in the car. We sin all weekend and try to get together Saturday evening. I kind of appreciate that every day you was kind of held responsible for it, the beginning of your day, the end of your day. But I didn't care for that I'm chanting to this sheet of paper that I,
you want to know what you're feeling. Now, have you been involved in this Buddhist temple right down the street here, or not? Oh, okay.
After that experience, and after some critical questions that I had for them, everyone was uneasy about God. No one knew God existed anymore, and most of them came from a Christian background. But they were sure about what they call devil kings, and there were 10 devil kings. So as a sociologist, I'm looking back saying, okay, if this is true, even if I believed in it or didn't believe in it, how is it possible that you're sure that they're devil kings?
Right, yeah.
Or you're comfortable with that concept of negativity? One of their concepts is all earthly desires lead to enlightenment, which means you can do whatever you want to do, and it will lead you to enlightenment. It may lead you to jail, and maybe jail is enlightenment. It may lead you to murder, but you can still do it, and it will lead you to enlightenment. So I'm like, well, I have an issue with that you would gravitate towards the darker force and give it 10 realms, but everyone is unsure about
the positive.
The positive. So, a few of those things that just didn't sit well, and I'm saying this is just not for me. And I end up, interested enough, using more Bible verses than I think I've ever did in my life around that. And I realized that part was my purpose. And I encourage them to never negate the original teaching. So if whatever teaching led you to this new teaching, you have to respect the past. So if you was a Christian and it led you to Buddhism, you don't disrespect Christians, you don't disrespect that was your opinion. So for me, if I was to raise a child, I would definitely have them raised in my doctrine.
Yeah.
Even if I didn't ever go to church again.
Now, do you believe in? Do you still believe in, say, heaven and hell, or what do you feel about it?
Well, that's the interesting thing. To be perfectly honest, it's not on my radar. I don't think about it. I don't really need it to continue. I don't need it to. I don't need the concept of heaven and hell to dictate my moral compass, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think that's been engraved in me already. What I will do, what I won't do.
Yeah.
The 10 Commandments are, part of who I am. And it's not something I have to run around and say, you're violating. It's something that I can self-check myself and say, that you lied today, you need to apologize for that. So I don't need the concept of heaven and hell to, keep me in line.
Yeah.
So many people do. And that's why I think it's necessary.
Yeah.
Once you've graduated to a certain level, and I think that any theologian, anyone who is a governing body over individuals that has went to an institute, formally trained, has that philosophy. Because they are trained to absorb their scholars. And if we find new books, we find that Jesus had a wife. If the church wants to deny something like that, and we found a new book and not even discover it, then that means there's a sense of complacency, which is not, the word doesn't say do that. It says study the show thyself approved. So new information, science, anything that's happening in the rest of the world, we should be embracing. And when the Christian church starts to say that that's we don't need that, we only need what we have here, then that's where I check out at.
I see.
And that's what I meant by the graduation.
Yeah.
I'm past that point.
Yeah.
But it is a business.
It is.
And someone
it's an industry.
It's an industry. And someone has to keep the rent paid.
Yeah.
And someone has to keep the lights on. And someone has to keep the concept of it happening. So that's why I would never tear, it down personally.
Now, do you, when you were so sure that you were going to heaven, what would you say made you so sure, I guess?
I needed it. I think that most oppressed people, whether it's traditionally oppressed African American person, whether it's a oppressed person because their parents are drunks, or they fell into molestation, or any type of oppression. One needs something to cling to. One needs a better reality.
Yes.
And at the time,
so it's kind of like a source of hope, right?
Yeah, definitely. The promise that life is better.
Yeah.
I think once you are conflicted with a near-death experience, or in my case, I technically, although I don't believe this will happen to me, I technically can get colon cancer at any point in my life.
You can what?
I can get colon cancer in my life. Technically, I should have it now because I've had illness for so long.
Yeah.
My faith says that I won't have it, but it is a chance. And having to do with that chance.
Sorry, is that the disease that you had?
I have ulcerative colitis, which colon cancer is basically every 6 months to a year I should check to see I have colonoscopy. Okay. And it's a autoimmune deficiency disorder which dietary can only help. And what would cure me, they have made not necessarily illegal, but the FDA doesn't approve it. So I have to find the person to do it. I have to travel out of the country to have the service done.
I see. And forgive me, I need to ask a dumb question. Are you gay or straight?
Interesting. Now, why would you ask that question?
Because you're a fashion designer.
Interesting.
And I'm naive. I have no idea. So
Very
maybe it's like very obvious or not. I have no idea. So
Okay.
sorry, I really don't know.
Very interesting question.
And of course, it affects like maybe how you'd been
In the
treated
church?
in the church and things like that. So yeah.
You know what? I never had that problem in the church. I think when you're talented, people kind of look over it.
Are you a musician?
I definitely am a singer.
Okay.
And people say very gifted. I used to be a caterer, so I constantly worked in church. I was raised to work in church. And I think when I first got out of my family church, I went to another church and I didn't work. I actually could enjoy the service.
Yeah.
But it was indebted to me to tithe, both physically and, of course, financially. So I could hide if I had a sexuality problem in the fact that I was a caterer for the church, in the fact that I sang for the church.
Yeah.
And I had talent.
You could keep up appearances. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I mean,
Or just
people look over.
yeah.
90% of the pastors are gay, and when I was in church, half of them in the city tried to date me. So, with their kids and their wives, and so as long as you're talented, people look over. I was even, I would attend, it wasn't my main church, it was just a particular person I supported. He had made a man his first lady, in essence. He played the role. Everyone knew it, no one spoke about it. Everyone knew he lived with him. He, traveled with him. He took care of him.
Yeah.
And, people, like I said, if you're talented, he happened to be a prophet, or people thought he was a prophet. So they looked over the fact that this was his openly black male choice.
Yeah.
He tried to do the traditional thing. He had a kid, he had a wife at one point. Yeah, for me, I've never been conflicted with that. Also because I've been an artist, I think family-wise, I've never had to quite deal with opening up to them about my sexuality. Now, I would say 10 years of no sexuality. I'm not practicing. I don't know if that makes you gay or straight.
Yeah.
If I see the end of my life, I would say that it is more practical for me to be with a man. I have dated women. I have done that. I went back and forth. We've done that. I've had those very deep questions with the Lord. I think that is the only person we really talk to about will he accept you. And what I was given was that in the Bible, God ordains things and he appoints things. And 9 times out of 10, the things that he appoints, he forgives. David was not someone that should have ever been king, but he appointed him to that position. So when it came to my sexuality, although it may have not been ordained, it may not have been the original creation, our relationship has been appointed, and that won't change. That relationship has kept me out of...
Your relationship with God.
Yes, that relationship has kept me out of very, 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 very particular situations. I remember wanting to have sex and wanting to be promiscuous because I wanted to lash out of depression. The reason why a lot of people are promiscuous, it's not the sex, it's depression. I wanted to, explore, and I knew it was wrong, and I would set it up, and it would never work, and it would work for all my friends, and it would work, and I knew why it wasn't working, why I couldn't fall in love with that person, why it was revealed to me that person was positive, and if I go down that path, so that's why I said the relationship was always established. I can't say God left me because I have been battling an illness that would have, under the conditions of being the stressful condition that I have, I've never been on disability because I refuse to do it. I don't take aid from the government, I'm self-employed. I've never taken any medication outside of an herbal supplement for this situation, and that's all based on faith.
Yeah.
It's not me. I can't say it's me.
Now, did you grow up in Chicago or in the South? Okay, I thought you said something about the South.
My aunts that raised me were all Southern,
Yeah, okay.
so very, very strict upbringing.
Like a Southern church culture, but it's in Chicago kind of thing.
Yeah, any black person that most of the Southern culture migrated from the South, of course, to the West Side. So that culture still exists. The church culture. That's why so many churches on the West Side.
I think on the South Side too.
On the South Side as well. I grew up on the South Side, but definitely it's the same. I mean, they were my great aunts that raised me, so they were insanely crazy. And you know, those stupid rules like you can only iron on Saturday. You know.
So I guess when you say that you graduated from church or from church, I'm wondering about the beliefs that you graduated from. So what, like maybe a key question would be...
First of all, before you go there, is this good? Is this a good interview?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I don't know if I was, you know...
Yeah, no, it's interesting.
Okay.
And like I say, everyone's an individual and got to hear people's stories, you know? What was I going to say? Oh, like, maybe what you believed at the time, and then you kind of graduated on from that. Like, if there is, or maybe what you believe the church teaches. I don't know how. You can answer it how you want. If there's a heaven and a hell, and obviously nobody's perfect, right? So it's not like the perfect people go to heaven. It's like there's some, you know, people have different levels of goodness and badness in their lives, whatever. But yet, if there's a heaven and hell, some people go to one and some to the other. What, as far as what you believe or believed or believe your church taught, what would be the difference between the people who end up in heaven and end up in hell?
Well, I think that's the human issue when they tell the story. I think we naturally want to put people in heaven or in hell, and that's one thing that's not our place.
No, yeah.
You know.
So you definitely believe it's God's judgment,
well,
right?
You know, there's a saying when people say, I'm doing God's work, you know, I'm doing the Lord's work. And once I got out of church, I realized that so many things that we say are ridiculous. If God is taking care of the universe and knows every hair in our head, I think if there's one person that's competent to do his work, it's him.
Okay.
And, you know, and that has everything to do with judgment. You know, this concept of heaven and hell probably dates back further than the Egyptians, but definitely was very serious in the Egyptian culture of the weight of the feather. And once you have a comparative religion background, you realize that collectively as humans that we have evolved, these concepts have grown with us, and they're universal across the board. When we all, you know, maybe 200 years collectively took us to figure out that the world was round. So the same thing happens in religion. So the concept of that being so ancient, I have to respect it. The ancients were closer to God than we ever will be, and every generation will get a little bit farther from Him. So if they had this concept that they built these temples in memory of this heaven and hell situation, even outside of Christianity, because before Christianity was Coptic faith. So without the Egyptology and the Coptic faith, there would be no Christianity. So you have to, you know, respect that teaching. And for Zoroastrianism, the concept of heaven and hell and angels came from Zoroastrianism, the worship of the sun, which is one, that got us from being paganistic to monotheism. So, you know, all that became before was building up the culture that we call Judaism and early Christianity. So I have to give credit and accept that there's a heaven and a hell, based on the ancients. So that there's one.
So not necessarily based on the Bible, but based on just culture, human culture, and
the respect of, you know, of the ancients.
But maybe specifically the Christian faith and concept of who would end up there and who wouldn't. What do you feel about that, or what did you feel about that? I guess
what's interesting about that is that we focus too much on that, and that's not what we've been asked to do. Jesus simply said very clearly, very simply, if you can just love your brother. if you can just do those two things that he asks you to do, you'll get where you need to go.
Yeah.
We preoccupy ourselves with the idea of where you want to go and how you're going to get there. And we play, and say we go to hell, and we damn people who we think deserve it,
Yeah.
from our own human experience. From our own human mind, our cardinal mind, we do think that a rapist should go to hell. We do say, and that really, that concept, that construct, really just medicates us mentally and emotionally.
As far as like feeling someone else will get what they deserve, right?
Some sense of control.
Yeah. And the thing that makes us feel that way is we feel like, okay, and I want to get what I deserve, and I deserve to go to heaven.
No one deserves to go to heaven.
Right.
You're a dirty rag site. You're a dirty rag in our sight of God. No one deserves to go to heaven, and it's a gift.
Yeah.
We do think that. And then there's another concept of not just going to heaven, but a crown of life.
Yeah.
For super Christians, you want this crown of life.
Right. Or 144,000.
Or the 144,000. So for me, I never thought it was going to be this crown of life. I didn't think I was that good eternally. I thought if I could just get a corner, if I could just get in the corner.
Yeah. So if you believe, now did you believe back when you were pretty confident you would go to heaven? Did you believe that you didn't deserve it? That you didn't deserve it?
At that time, I wasn't believing. I knew I was going to heaven. There was no question.
Yes. Right.
And you don't deserve it.
So how could you be confident of going if you...
Well, that was the concept of mercy and grace. And that was what was missing in Buddhism. That is what made me leave. Their concept was you reap what you sow, harm when you get what you get. Goes around, comes around.
Yeah. That's
what you miss, one element in the middle. Mercy, grace. Something that we survive on, that we wake up on every day. Mm-hmm. No one deserves to be here. And that, was engraved, being thankful for the grace.
Yeah.
So that's what allows you the gift to get to heaven. But I think we really should waste less time on thinking about heaven and thinking about the life we have here.
Yeah. Well, something to think about is if heaven is, eternal and hell is eternal and we all have an eternal soul. If you think about this life in comparison, it's like a blink of an eye,
True.
And so I really feel it's important to think about heaven just because in comparison, this life is nothing compared to that, I also, if you think about heaven in terms of being with God, and it's described by Jesus and others as such a wonderful thing, and they compare it to like earthly things, but I look beyond the metaphors and just say, it's a really good place to be in a right relationship with God for eternity, Do you think it's selfish to want to go to heaven if you view heaven as being with your Creator?
I don't think it may be selfish in human eyes, but I don't think in God eyes.
Yeah, no, I mean it's, self-preservation is not selfish, really. I mean, who wants to destroy themselves?
Your whole existence, and your whole religion existence trains you to believe in something you haven't seen yet.
Yeah.
So I don't think, God would have an issue with you desiring heaven in its entirety.
Yeah. So I guess the reason I bring that up is a lot of people I've talked to, they kind of, and it's kind of, they say what you're saying is like we should concentrate on this life as if it's kind of like a bad thing to think about heaven, and if there is truly a hell and other people are going to go there, or even if we have the chance of ending up there, it really makes sense to think about it and deal with it,
I always said that I would shout so much that I would be kicked out of hell.
Yeah.
If in fact it was a mistake.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think that, I don't think there's nothing that you can do to get to heaven.
Mm-hmm.
Some people want to be holistic and say we're all going to heaven, and that's fine. It's something about human nature that will not allow that to happen. That's why we fight. That's why religions hate each other. The concept. People hate Christians for the concept that everyone has the opportunity to go to heaven. That everyone has the opportunity to be forgiven. Jehovah's Witnesses don't like the idea that there's a second rapture, and that for 7 years when God is not on the earth, he'll come back and you'll still have a choice. You may not be on the first set, but you still have a choice to accept him.
Now, I'm sure you believe in Jesus and he died on the cross and died for our sins, right? Or you did back then. I don't know if you still do.
I'm not connected to religion anymore, but I have no problems with Jesus. I have no problems with the story. I find myself, and I don't know why, but there's times where, as far as I think I can get away from it, there will be a movie, and I will uncontrollably start crying. There was a scene in Medea.
A scene in what?
Medea.
Medea?
It's a Medea series. And it was a black woman who had cancer for maybe the third time. And she said it's okay. And the doctor said, you know, how do you maintain such grace when I'm telling you you're going to die? And something like he said, you've lasted so long or something like that. And she says, what you do for Jesus will last. And just me, no one was around, burst in tears for maybe 2 hours. And I apologized to God. I said, I cannot get away from you. My faith does not leave. Even though I'm not singing in the choir and I'm not cooking in the basement and all that, somehow I'm still there.
Yeah.
You know? So for me, the concept of Jesus, the Savior, even if you want to debate whether his name is Jesus, you call it whatever you want to, but the concept of a Savior, of mercy, giving you an opportunity to live again, is probably something that's in my blood.
Yeah.
It's probably something that I couldn't get away from.
Yeah.
And if I'm ever like pushed in the corner, who do I call?
Yeah.
You know, even if my cardinal mind says, I'll pray.
It almost sounds like you're saying like Peter said, Lord, to whom shall we go? Like Jesus turned to the disciples and all the people were leaving him, and he said, are you going to leave too? And he said, where would we go? Peter said, where would we go?
What is that?
You have the words of eternal life.
What's worse was unfathomable. What I can't conceive, what hurts me the most, is people who don't have that, who rest on themselves. Because what I know and what I have survived, the multiple things I've survived, from being homeless as a teenager, from being raped, from my mother being shot in the head, my grandmother being shot in the head, for me now dealing with this very serious illness, for me not to have any mental issues, although the doctors say I should be a Prozac because of my condition, for me not to be malice and upset. How does one maintain without having someone to call? So when people don't have anything, and don't have they're so arrogant that they don't need anything. I've lived enough life to know that you do.
Yeah.
So even though I might not practice as far as physically being there every Sunday, I do know who I call on.
Yeah. It's good to hear.
That I don't
As a
think
Christian, I mean, it's good to hear.
I don't think it's going to change anytime soon. I mean, I've tried to get intelligent. I try to.
You know, I think one of the things, I don't know, correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe the reason that you intellectually maybe don't want to believe in the exclusiveness of Jesus as our Savior is because you do have a compassion for people who don't have Him and don't believe in Him. And you don't want to believe that without Him they would end up in hell, you know? it sounds like you believe in him for yourself, but you don't want to believe in him for them. You know?
Interesting you say that. Raised to be an evangelist, I have stopped that in my life. In fact, I'm not concerned about where people are going. In Buddhism, it's very important that you recruit every day.
Really?
Yeah, they call it bodhisattva, which is someone who's recruited. Very important. They should take, just like in Mormons, they take account each week. How many people have you recruited? How many people have you passed out a card to? I have no, unfortunately, connection to that anymore. I'm not concerned with people. It's not my mission.
Yeah.
To be concerned that people are going to heaven or hell. And it's been like that for a while. That's probably what you're hearing from me. I know who he is. If someone stops me and asks me, how do you do it? How did you keep going? I have to ask myself. And when I tell my story every now and then to some of my friends, I'm like, you all can't understand.
Yeah.
And then I have to stop myself and say, it's not me. Because human me would have given up 10 years ago. It's when no one else is around, this is who I am. And that's what you're feeling. I don't run around saying, where are you going?
Yeah.
Here's the word, And I think there's enough people doing that.
I think there's, to be honest, well, in the circles I run in, very few do, but then I know there's Mormons, Jehovah's Witnesses, certain churches might, have a lot of people who do that sort of thing, but from my perspective, relatively few Christians are really trying to share their faith. Maybe through their life, maybe through their actions. They kind of like be a nice person and hope someone will ask you why you're so nice, but
to me, I think that's the best way. My friends have been trying to get me to come to Buddhist for years, and I said no. It was because of my friend Ryan that shared so much about his life to me that one day that made me interested and maybe I can live that free. Because inside of me, I couldn't express it. In my religion, it was about being proud. It was about keeping it private, going into the upper room.
Yeah.
I don't share with
the private disciplines of
the private disciplines. I was raised. Having dignity with it, so to be able to experience someone who didn't know me to say something so personal, that's what I was actually, yearning for. It wasn't the fact that all my friends wanted me to become Buddhist. I had a lot of friends when I got there, knew everybody, and I wasn't interested. So
now, did you have the belief when you were younger, your church teach that a person would end up being condemned, going to hell, for not believing in Jesus or for, breaking the law, like the Ten Commandments or anything like that? Like, what do you think would be most important?
We were always trained to accept and measure Lord and Savior, whether that is formally in church or if before you die you accept Him. That was a very private thing too.
Yeah. So that's what could save you, but what would condemn you?
To hell. We really, because of my upbringing, we really didn't focus on it. I didn't go to a fire with some style Baptist church where everything was sending you to hell, and I think that's probably why I'm spoken.
Because one thing, the reason I ask that is because if a person believes that, okay, here's this religion of all the religions of the world, and this religion says, well, here's our founder, you have to believe in him or you will go to hell, right? That sounds really like, who can believe in that kind of a God who's unfair and unjust? And, obviously a lot of people have not even heard of Jesus, so, that it sounds too crazy to even consider, right? But if it's true that man was given the knowledge of good and evil at the Garden of Eden, at the fall.
Around the heart of all men.
And everybody has the law of God in their heart.
I believe it.
They know it's wrong to lie and steal and cheat and use God's name in vain. All the different, the Ten Commandments and other laws. If we know right from wrong, whether we're a Christian or a Buddhist or a, atheist, or we have this innate sense of right and wrong, and we have an innate sense that there is a creator that we're accountable to. If we're condemned for going against him, then I guess what I'm trying to say is I believe it's a little more understandable as far as we're in rebellion against our creator, and we know what we shouldn't do and what we should do. It's not just sins of commission, what you do, but omission, what you don't do, the good you ought to do, but there's James, it's the good we know we ought to do, but we don't do it. So that's, as far as what I understand, ever since the very beginning, that's what we're condemned for. Adam and Eve kicked out of the garden for breaking the one law that they knew they shouldn't break, and Cain and Abel. And from there on, people being condemned for not, Jesus, the name of Jesus didn't come into the picture for years, until years later. People were still condemned. And so, to me, it's like, well, if we can accept that we're all condemned, and then find out that there's a Savior, then it makes a lot more sense to give that life preserver to people, to say, put on this parachute before you jump out of this plane, that there is a Savior. You might be killed by the law of gravity when you jump out of a plane, but don't blame the parachute just because you didn't have it on. Blame the fact that you had to deal with gravity. Do you see what I'm saying? So it's like in the New Testament, Paul talks about the law of sin and death. You sin, you die, you're cut off from God. But there's a Savior. And to me, that makes a lot more sense than to say you must, believe in Jesus, and I'm going to force you to do it by threatening hell. No, it doesn't
work anymore because of the video games.
Why is that? Oh, because you always have another life, right?
Well, no, it used to work when hell was so aloof, and now every day you turn the news, that's hell. And now the video games perpetuate death constantly, so we're numb to it. If you want to know what would send you there, what I would imagine, is someone who never calls him. And what's interesting is that the thief that was on the cross was Jesus. And before we even go there, I'm even persuaded that, and this was early on in my career, in my religious career. I remember in high school when I took the comparative religion course, debating with some of my students or my friends that everything that we read in the Bible is simply metaphorically speaking. We don't have to take it word for word. It has great significance. And I remember Aretha Franklin, which is so interesting, singing the song "Ain't Necessarily So," which you read in the Bible ain't necessarily so, which I thought was very interesting.
Is that what she was singing about?
Yeah, and her father was pastor. It's a very interesting song.
Yeah.
And I remember, and I had some religious friends with me saying, "No, you're crazy. Everything in this word is correct. This is all you need to know." And now, at 31, some of them are the most reckless people. When I look at them now, I can't believe who they've become. I'm like, oh my God, you all were like religious fanatics, So I've always been into science. I've always been into, I always thought it merged. I always thought religion and science merged together is how we try to explain the unknown. If you get deep into quantum physics, you'll realize that the smartest people in the world say God exists because they can't explain certain phenomena that they thought they controlled. Even the phenomena themselves have a choice, have a free will. So the smart people in the world will say there is a God. They will definitely say that to you.
Everything had to begin somewhere.
There's a force, because even when they think they control the force, it still makes sense. to me, what would send you to hell? So, in saying that, meaning that if there's a new book that comes out, that is a new Dead Sea Scroll, I'm interested in reading that. My mind is opening up to challenge that. If my faith is rooted in what I know, which is my relationship with Him day to day, I don't mind any discovery. I don't mind that Jesus has a wife. Well, when He had a wife, it was perfectly sincere.
Can I'm going to have to go. I can kind of feel like my wife is waiting for me to get home, but
I was going to answer.
I'm actually a high school teacher, and I do this, talk to people on my way home from work often, to make it a goal to do every day, and love it. But I don't have all the time in the world. So I'm sorry.
Well, can I one more thing about that last thing that you asked me? What was sending you to hell? So on the cross, when there was thieves on the cross, it was a murder and a thief. Before the thief died, he had called on Jesus.
Yeah.
And I think that is the promise of Christianity, that before you take your last breath, you have that opportunity to. I think what would send you to hell is to never have a lifetime and never call us down.
Yeah.
And I would hope not, but there are people who, are atheists, and they make decisions that control the world, and they have never been held accountable.
I do believe, like, it is wrong, not like when we're given the opportunity to put our trust in Christ, it's wrong to deny Him and reject Him. But even before that, there's a lot of other things that lead up to that. Our own pride, the pride that makes us not obey God and steal things and lie and cheat and all the things we do, So,
but you're gonna call it.
It's more than just not believing something. It's actual sin that we're saved from, and the just results of our sin. So I hear you saying, we don't deserve heaven, and as a Christian, I believe there was a tremendous price that was paid so that we could go, which was the pearl of great price, the Son of God dying on the cross in our place. It's what made, I think, for you the communion so special. It's like that's a reminder of the death that was paid for our life. Can I leave you with this? There was a time. I go to a church where actually the pastor, the church before I went to I go to one in Bridgeport here, but there was kind of like a cycle. I felt like there was a cycle of preaching where after about 3 years, and I was pretty much had been a Christian for quite a while already, and I felt like I got to a point where it's like, man, I'm not learning anything new. I feel like I'm about ready to graduate and I don't know where to go from here, And really what opened up my mind, my life to God's, to say, you know what, I haven't even begun to scratch the surface of what God has to teach me, was viewing Christianity is not something that serves me or makes me happy, or what can I get out of it, but now how can I allow it to flow through me into the lives of others. And there's a verse in Philemon, the little book of Philemon, doesn't even have a chapter, it's just like short, but it talks about and I should have it memorized, but I'm not good at memorizing verses. But he says, I pray that you can be active in sharing your faith so that you can truly know, what you've been saved from, so that you truly know Christ. And so it's in reaching out to others. Like, to be honest, like I get in these conversations every day, and when I hear people tell me about their journey, I kind of relive my own. Whether they're not a Christian or not a Christian, but I remember times in my life when I was at that place, and it's like, like if they don't know Christ yet, I feel like there, but for the grace of God go I. It's like when I'm in church and we have baptisms, and I see someone get baptized, I remember my own baptism all over again, and so that's the challenge, is to reach out. And I will never graduate. I will never reach a pinnacle, or There's always something more I can be learning that might be of use to help somebody else. So, can I challenge you with that, or get you to think about that?
We just had church right now.
Okay. So, and with that, I should probably get going. So, Jason, it's very, very good talking to you.